Thank you for joining us on Worldwide Slot Car Chat on Zoom number 136. I'm your host, Greg Gabb. The gang's all here. We got Paul and Pete and Don and Courtney and Mike and David and Henry and Wayne and Garth and Big Den and Dewann and other people. Let's talk slot cars. Let's start with show and tell. If you have something you want to show and or tell, pretty much anything as long as it's slot car related and not club related, because we'll talk about that later. Raise your virtual hand to it so that I can make sure to get to you. And before we switch to Club Corner, I'll look for.
Well, I can't
if you don't, you want to do something later, Paul? Okay. All right, Mike's first. Go ahead, Mike.
I didn't expect to be first. I've got the new Slot.it Mercedes that I had ordered quite a while ago. Pretty nice. It's DTM.
The interior
inline. Yeah, it's yellow.
No, the interior is also yellow.
Yes, interior is also yellow. I don't know if that's correct or not.
It must be. I can't imagine they would choose a yellow interior unless the car had a yellow interior.
I mean, it's a nice car. It's not quite as fast as the Alpha and the Calibra, though, at least initially. I've only had it on the track a few times to test it out, but it seems like it's decent. It's a little tail happy, so I'll see if I can fix that with a little weight. I haven't put any weight in or anything yet, so, but it's a beautiful car. It's really, really nice. Good addition to the DTMs.
Yeah.
And I like it a lot. So that's me.
All righty, good deal.
No Club Corner. Mike. I got plenty of Club Corner.
All right, looking forward to that. And Paul, you're next, sir.
Go on in. Right, I've just bit the bullet, and well, I didn't buy the bullet. The missus bit the bullet because she bought it for me Christmas present, early Christmas present.
Nice.
And
keeper.
Yeah. So that's in its primer at the moment. I've stuck all the bits on that needed to be stuck on. I've fitted the spats in on the back because they need to be painted the usual colours. So you can guess what that's going to be. But I was thinking about doing the whole car yellow and doing the Jaguar Castrol markings, copying it off the other car, but doing it blue. So wherever the green is on the actual car, it's going to be blue.
Yep.
So hopefully it should look rather tasty. I built the chassis up, so that's all waiting to be done. And that's it, basically. That's the only thing I've got.
All right. Looking forward to another beautiful blue and yellow car. Thank you for sharing, sir. Does anybody else have any show and tell? You want to wave your real hand in front of your camera? Dewann, you got something? Go ahead, Dewann.
I guess it was just more or less an announcement. Last week I created a new group and just want to share with everyone and people that might be watching later. It's called the Vintage Revell Slot Car Group. And it's just focused. Well, it came about because there was quite a few people that were showcasing some of their old Revell layouts and things that were coming to pass and things like that. And I would chime in and talk about. Let me reduce this thing here. Some of the tips and tricks and things that I've come across on. And so I was repeating myself like 3 or 4 times for different posts that was popping up. And so I said, well, you know what? I just need to throw all these things, make a group and throw all these things into one central location that we could kind of point people to and they can kind of review and go through it. So it has quite a few videos and things like that. And it has links to Chuck Gipke. He's been on our chat a few times. He wrote that software that allows you to do the layouts using the custom, all the specific pieces for Revell and stuff like that. So it's turned out pretty good. No, it's not going to be a large group or anything like that. It's about 30 or so members right now, but people that are interested in it, and it's not just Revell, it's more vintage slot car stuff, but it was titled Revell because I think that's what it's all about, right? Okay, just want to put that out there.
If you drop the link in there, you'll save me some time searching for it later. But otherwise, I'll try to I'll try to remember to put a link in there in the description below. So if you're watching this on YouTube, there should be a link down below. You can check out Dewann's new Vintage Revell slot car group. Anything else, Dewann?
I have a few things in Club Corner. I'll talk about them later.
Cool. All right, next up is Pete. Go ahead.
All right, now that I have my audio all fixed up, I can show some stuff I'm doing. I've had a couple of these kits kicking around my cupboard. Decided to throw this one together. So here it is so far. I've just put the front and rear valance on and the little ducktail wing piece in the back. Just have to do a little more prep on that before we put some paint on it. I have Lois Jeans decals from IndyCals, I believe, to go on that. And then here's the chassis. It's one of my 3D printed chassis, inline S-can. Works pretty good. I've got slotting plus rears and slotted plastic fronts that will get, I've got the kit. The kit wheels will be made into inserts and they'll fit nice in there. This is just for fun. We don't have a class for this in our club. It's just for fun, for kicking around. That's about it.
It might be a good, like if you put the right kind of motor in, it might be a good NC1 Ninco Classics kind of class.
Yeah, I was debating on, this is just a stock 18K. I have a bunch of BWAs that I've bought right from Al. I was debating on what I wanted to put in this, but I'll run it like this for now. I want to try and introduce a new class to our group, sort of like a 70s or GT with the slow motors. So maybe this will kind of win them over.
Yeah. All right. Anything else?
Not until Club Corner.
Okay. Thanks for sharing, Pete. Frank, you're up next, sir.
Well, good morning, everybody. Well, at least morning for me anyway. A couple of weeks ago when I was on the chat, I'd asked Chris Walker where I could find some big ferrules he was using in his, I think it was a Lotus or something like that. I found them online and ended up using them on this car, which a lot of people know and a lot of people don't know.
I don't recognize it.
You don't?
Nope.
Old Yeller.
Thank you. See, somebody does.
I could have just named it Old Yeller, but I have no idea what kind of car it is.
Well,
Max Polchowski's custom.
And I call it the foreign car eater because he created this in the Hollywood garage on his floor, drew out the chassis, and it actually has a Buick drivetrain in it, Buick wheels, soft discontinued tires were he used, and he beat Maseratis and Ferraris and other cars out at Riverside with it. And some of the big names actually raced it too, besides him. But that was a kit that or not a kit, actually the body is from, I believe, AA Bodies in the UK. And then I found, like I say, I found these ferrules. Those are really cool. And Chris showed it for the engine detail. And that's one of the projects I finished recently. And then this is the other.
Oh, wow. Midgets.
Midget, yeah. That's got to be 124th or 125th or 118.
No, it's actually a 124th, but it'll run on Scalectric's 132nd track because I only put a 2 5/8" rear width on it. This kit is actually a 1954 Monogram kit. The instructions have the year 1954 on it, steel sealed. And then I created a brass chassis for it. And I'm hoping this will be competitive with the new Mid-America Whole Shot that Roger Schmidt just came out with, although I'll probably get one of those as well. But I also, I figured I used the ferrules on the other car. I thought I'd use them on this one too, on the engine.
Good.
But it's fun. It's a good runner, actually.
Yeah, looks great.
Thank you.
What kind of motor isn't it?
This was the Offenhauser.
No. I mean the slot car motor.
Sorry. Hey,
I know
nothing about real cars.
Nothing.
Oh, okay, that's engine. That's right.
The engine might be an Aussie, but the motor is what?
The motor is a Predator 25K
There you
because
go.
Roger's using an Eagle 25K in the whole shot.
Yeah.
So I thought I wanted to be competitive with the same gearing in it.
That's very nice. Well done.
Yeah,
Thank
looks
you.
like a pretty clean chassis too.
Hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah, he might be good. He might be able to build one of these days.
Thank you. Maybe. Maybe. Thank you. That's all I've got.
All right.
Oh,
Nice.
no. Wait.
Okay.
Wait.
Go ahead.
I've been racing. I mean, this is more like a club corner, but I have to say it now because it's on my mind. I raced with Farrout last Saturday. And after I've been there 8 years, I think, 7 or 8 years running with Farrout non-mag, I finally got a podium.
I saw that. Well done.
That is well
you.
done.
Those guys are it's a very competitive group, even though it's not, but it is.
And a challenging track from what I've seen.
Oh, a lot of the tracks. Sorry, this was on Stephen Farrout Jones' track.
Okay, that's the one I was thinking of.
Yeah, I figured you were, yeah.
So good
But
job.
it's fun. We had a good time. Thank you. Finally.
Awesome. All right, thanks for sharing, Frank. And Big Dan, you are next.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It sounds like I'm sounding all right. I've had the rotten COVID for the last week. I haven't been suffering anything extreme in the way of symptoms, but it's just annoying that you got to be locked up and out of circulation. So, but that's the way we have to do it. So I'm happy that I sound all right. Well, maybe I sound all right to me.
I can't
had
tell
a bit
the
of a
difference,
yeah. I had a bit of a chuckle when Frank came on. I thought back to my misinterpretation of the Onion slated ferrules a few weeks ago when
exactly.
And so I'm going to try a share now. It's not a long one. This long presentation this time. I'll just. Oh, there you go. That's nice. The first thing you look at, and it says Windows can't display the picture. So I won't display that picture. I don't know why it won't display any of the pictures.
It's got COVID.
I'll just see if I can open. I'll just see if I can open the pictures with another viewer. Yeah, that looks better. Okay, so now I'll keep you out of suspense and share a screen. Click there and share. This is the how I just assume everyone can see it.
It's coming in. There it is.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, this is the color scheme I've decided to do for my Revoslot Escort. It's one of Jim Richards' first drives when he was still a young man in New Zealand. He was driving against the guy who used to run Carney Racing, and this guy said, well, this fella's okay, so I'll give him a drive in my car. So that's the, I haven't progressed very far because the Patos decals have only arrived in the last few days. Okay, now I'm not sure I can go to the next picture. I might have to go back to the app.
I mean, you can always hit the open button and open it from within the app.
Yeah, I'll just try to just see if I can push. Yeah, I've got the little forward arrow. Okay, yeah, I got there now. This is the car I raced in the NASCAR series down in Hobart last week when I was there. Before I knew I had COVID. Fortunately, I didn't pass it on to anyone down there, which was I was thankful for. It was the only Carrera car, I think, run on the night, but I was quite happy with the way it went. And just another view of it there. Just like the front was starting to fall off there, so I had to put that back on. Was talking to Mike some time ago about the weighting of the Carrera cars. So I decided on these brass plates underneath, because you've got that very, very much angled chassis. The chassis sort of tips up towards the front like one of the late 90s Formula One cars. It's got the high nose. And so I put on these pieces of brass, this section from there decidedly slopes upwards. So I've got one cross piece there, and then the other one, and a little bit of radiusing on the plate, so it's got clearance on the track, held on with model railway screws so that it doesn't come loose and make an absolute disaster of the electrical circuit on the track, of course. And Frank was talking about Predator motors. This was the first time I actually ran a Predator 18K in anger, and I was quite happy with the way it went. So move on to the next.
How much weight did you use, Denny?
Oh, how would I know?
A lot.
I was going to say, if that's brass, that's probably a good 20 grams.
I don't know. I never sort of worry with the niceties of scales and things. Oh, come on. I've got onto the wrong.
You know me, I'm dead.
Okay, let's see if I can stretch this one out. How's that? So that's just to show that these are the again, some weeks ago I talked about cornering the market on Batmobile rear axle assemblies. These are the Batmobile tyres put on CB design wheels and ground down until the knobbly bits disappear off them. And I think 3 of the 9 or 10 guys who ran the other night were using these, and they are all pretty happy, including me, the way that they the traction they provide. So they got just enough grip and just enough slide, where some of the guys were complaining about too much grip. So I was happy to be able to get a good result out of that. Just another side view. That's just a side view, just to show you the CB design wheels there. The Batmobile tires clip onto them, slip onto them fairly easily, and you don't have to sort of do too much fiddling around to get to seat them properly. So that was a good result. These here, again, I think a few weeks ago you were talking about that substance you use to True tires. It's some sort of drywalling grill stuff, or some abrasive.
Yeah, drywall screen.
Drywall screen, yeah. So I wasn't going to go out and pay another $25 for a metal sanding block. The RSM ones, I could have got those, but they're a bit big for my area 3 truer. So these are actually filament 3D printed, with the emphasis on fill, because he was the kind chap who's knocked these up for me, and I'll pick them up next time I see him, which maybe in a week's time, maybe in 2 weeks' time. Of course, the only thing wrong with this picture is there's no yellow version, Greg. So at least we got the blue in, and I think that's about it. So I'll stop the share and hand over.
That's interesting, because I had a customer down under order a tire razor reciprocator and needed some extra sanding plates. So I just measured up my tire razor plate and printed him up a couple extra sanding plates for his reciprocator. Yeah. So that's quick and easy way to do it.
Yeah, I've already got a. Yes, Paul.
If you put sellotape over the center of that brass, it won't short out on anything. We used to do that on the old chassis in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah, I actually have got sellotape over it. I neglected to say that. I'm glad you were watching. Glad you had your eagle eye there to see it. So.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Right.
Thanks for sharing, Big Dan. And Dennis, you are next.
All right. Let me just swap my camera over. A couple of new cars coming in. This being the first one, the new Slot.it C-Class Mercedes
Mike beat you to the
DTM
punch
car.
on that one.
Very good.
Mike beat you to the punch on that one.
Oh, did I miss it earlier?
Yep.
He was first show and tell, so he showed off his new one. But your insight on that would be appreciated.
Try that instead then.
Okay.
That's the Slot.it Mazda, the presentation car of the 787, the black one. Really nicely done, virtually identical to their original Mazda. It's all the same castings, all the same moldings and mechanicals and so on. The only thing that I think is different, and which is nice, is that the car comes with a guide that's held in with a screw now. It's no longer just the pop-in guide. It has a screw and a washer that holds the guide.
And that one's got very tall wing mirrors.
Yeah, they had tall wing mirrors, and I think that I'm not sure that the other liveries have such tall ones. It's possible they do. I haven't looked, but yeah, they are very tall. The interesting thing is to compare it with the MR slot car one that came out some years back, and they're actually pretty close. The Slot.it one's a little bit longer, 2 or 3 millimeters longer. They're about the same width, although I think the Slot.it one might be a little wider. And but other than that, they're quite close. I haven't put them on the track next to each other yet, but that's the next thing to try.
Did Slot.it not update the chassis for the 6-point pod?
No, sir.
Interesting.
Well, they have all of this turbo wastegate detail on the side of the body that gets in the way of where a 6-point mount would be.
Yep, that makes sense.
It's got a 0.5 millimeter offset motor pod, which a very early one didn't have.
Yeah. So
Dennis,
it's basically Sorry,
you said you didn't put either one of them on its track yet.
No, I haven't. Well, no, neither the Mercedes nor the Mazda have been on my track. Although I've had them around the Electric Dreams track, and they both run very well. I've already changed out the rear tires. I put 1207 N22s on the back of the Mercedes, and I put a set of 1172s on the back of the Mazda because I have a bit more space there, and because on the Mercedes you don't want too much grip anyway because they tend to fall over if they have too much grip because of the height of them. Must admit, the only thing I don't like about the Mercedes is the damn yellow interior. I mean, to me, it really looks silly.
I was asking Mike about that, and I'm wondering if the one-to-one car had a yellow interior.
I've tried to look at photographs, and I really haven't found anything yet that shows that well enough. But I'm certainly going to take it out and spray it, give it a coat of aluminum or something like that, flat aluminum or matte black or something, because it looks kind of silly. I see that there are actually two different molds of that body coming, because this is the part number CA53A, and the next one that's coming is CA54A, and it's which means that there are some differences. It's not the exact same car, just in a different livery. And I went looking close at it, and basically what they've done on this one is I think the 94 edition, and then the CA54 is the 96 version, and it has big scoops over the brake line scoops or something over the front and rear wheel arches. At the back of the wheel arch, there are big scoops molded in. So there's another body coming, and that one's in the white Warsteiner colors, and it's absolutely stunningly beautiful. So that's me for now.
Apparently, I
If I
was
could
muted.
just-
Thank you for sharing. Thought I hit the unmute button. Jerry, you're next. What would you like to share today?
I just needed to unmute myself. So I picked up one of these tire break-in tools. Let me see here. Still trying to see if you guys can see it there.
Oh,
I got this from my.
Okay, I was thinking
you
you
guys
had
see
the
it?
CD slot cars. Which one is that?
Yeah, so this is from my buddies from Spain. He sent me, this is under 3D SRP. So I'm gonna start stocking this for the guys up here in Northern California. I needed this really bad because I don't have a track at home, so it would take forever for my tires to break in. So I've already done 4 or 5 sets, and the results have been really, really good. We're gonna start doing a little short series with the Polycar Ferrari, the 312. And I needed my tires to be broken in, so I didn't have time. So this has been really, really helpful for me. So what comes with this kit is just obviously the acrylic base, and then the black pieces. I had to add the motor to it. I had to add obviously the 2 axles and the gear, and I added the spacers and then the stoppers. It does come with the bushings. So, but to break the tires in has been really, really helpful. So I'm thankful for my buddy sending me these from Spain. So hopefully some of the other guys will jump on those once I get them all in stock. And that's about it for me.
All right, and so
It's a nice little tool.
I was going to say, what is your break-in process with that? Is it primarily oil application, or you just let the
So we run on all of our tracks. I think we run rubber. We run NSR rubber, super grip. And so what I did with the first set, I did start off with lighter fluid, just ever so gently, and I started lighter fluid, and then I started dropping the NSR oil. These tires got about 12 hours of ran, so and they feel really, really, really good. So I'm hoping that once I put it on track, it runs well. So I was just drop oil across the face of the tires, little by little. Every half hour, I would drop a little bit of oil on them, and then I let them sit for a few hours, and it seemed like they seem really, really good. So to be determined how they're going to run on track, but I can already tell.
What type of tires have you used there?
I was going to say, it looks like
NSRs.
Those are
NSR.
Yeah, they're NSR wheel tires. Yeah. So
now, are you using the air wheels or are they solid wheels?
These are air wheels.
Okay.
These are 15x8 slotted air wheels.
So have you gotten to the point like Jim Rose has described, doing his oiling regimen to it's glued, the tires are glued on, of course, and then with the air wheels, he oils them such that they expand just slightly in the center, so you get kind of a bubble.
Correct. That's exactly what I was able to do. Mm-hmm. So we'll see. I mean, obviously here they're not going to expand too much, just for the simple fact that they're bunched up against each other. But I'm sure on track they'll pick up. But I mean, this is a godsend for me not having a track. So yeah. So yeah, that was my little nifty tool.
All right. Thank you for sharing. And where did you? So you said your buddy in Spain. Where does somebody order that from right now if they wanted to?
Well, you could go. Yeah, I think either Crick has it, or there's another shop. I don't remember, but my buddy's shop is actually called Model Hobby Red, and I don't think he's really shipping internationally right now, but he said I'll send you some, and if they take off, then we could do some more. I wasn't gonna ask him for the file. That's how he makes his parts. I was like, down the file.
No, I wasn't implying that. I'm thinking, if he wants to get him, if he wants to get some American distribution, then, if we can generate some interest, then all the better.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I'm going to take it to my club up here in Sacramento, and I'm going to hand some out and see what they think about it. And he says, I'll send you some more if they take off. And I was like, cool. So we're going to do that.
Cool beans. Thank you for sharing, sir. And Henri, looks like you're ready to share something.
Yeah, this one is for Alan.
Oh, is that
It's
the
the Glickenhaus.
Glickenhaus?
That's a Glickenhaus.
It's in PLA, so I'm just doing it first in PLA. Let's see how it handles and how it fits.
Is that Vlad's file?
It does look pretty good. Yeah, that's Vlad's.
That's Vlad's file.
Wow.
Does it come in heavy in PLA, the body shell?
Yeah, I think I asked around because I don't think we're going to drive this in our races because it's 24 grams.
Yeah.
I think that's a little bit, but I don't know. I've worked sometimes to get rid of some weight, but PLA is a hell to work with.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't really sand it down.
No, that's a lot of trouble. But I'm going to find a way to lose some weight. But yeah, why it's 24 grams? It's a big car.
Yeah.
It's enormous. Here is an. So let's see if I can compare the two to each other. DTM.
Oh wow.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's a ship.
So how
Battleship.
What does it measure? How wide is it?
Oh, don't know exactly, but I've looked up of the real dimensions, and it's correct.
Really?
Yeah, it is. So it's almost on top by the dimensions. So I think it's big, the normally sized.
I think I downloaded the Glickenhaus. Yeah, here we go.
Would it fit within regulations that, you know, like a 63 millimeter? I mean, obviously you can set your track width however you like, but we know.
I saw yesterday the post of Tamar Newman about the Orca.
The slotted Orica.
Yeah.
I didn't see that yet.
Okay,
I saw the body. I didn't see the post.
Here you see.
Yeah, this is Vlad's. This is Vlad's file, and so yeah, 62.5 wide and 156.86 long.
Yeah, and I've looked yesterday at the real dimensions, and I divided it by 32, and it's correct.
Yeah, that is big.
Nice though, isn't it?
It's also long. It's also quite long for a slot car, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, I think so. But I don't know what's the size of the Orca is.
What was your comment about Tamar's post?
On the chat of on Slot Forum, Tamar posted. He was last week was Mauricio and Honor, and he was driving around with Mauricio. I don't know where, but I heard it in the rumors that he was in the country. And he had said he had something new to tell, and he posted some pictures from the new one.
The Orica.
Yeah, the Orica.
Yeah, there's been some nice pictures on the Facebook, about 5 or 6 photos of it. It looks very good, doesn't it?
Yeah, correct. But I don't know what dimensions that car has. But I think it's the same league.
I would think the Orica is probably close to what the other LMP2 cars are that they've made already, the Mazdas and the Lolas.
Yeah, it'll be typical because that's basically LMP1, not LM Hypercar, which is your Glickenhaus.
Yeah,
So if the new cars, the hypercars, are going to be longer, then that's body shell you've got in your hand could be the future of what we race in digital slot cars. You know, the big disco races, which won't adopt hypercars, I think, until 2024. May be wrong on that, but they're coming. And when the body shells are out there in the marketplace, then they'll come along in the slot car race. But at the moment, we're stuck with the window for the vehicles we're allowed to enter is 2010 to 2018, I think.
Mm-hmm.
and that only covers LMP1 for now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How long is that? Again, Greg?
Oh, the
156.
Yeah, 156, almost 157.
Yeah, 15.6 millimeters, centimeters.
What are you measuring it against, Paul? What are you comparing it to?
The Toyota.
Okay.
The Toyota's 14.5 centimeters long by 6.5 centimeters wide.
Yeah, so an entire centimeter longer. About the same width, though.
About the same width,
Yeah.
1 centimeter longer.
I quite like that. That'd be different.
Just as soon as someone can 3D print the Glickenhaus body shell in a weight and strength in a material that's light enough and strong enough.
What was the width on that again, Paul?
It's saying 65, but I think that's a bit big.
Yeah,
No,
I suspect it to be no more towards 63.
no, it's 65.
Is it really?
Yeah.
The Glickenhaus 3D model says it's 62.5 wide.
From chassis edge to chassis edge is 65.
Yeah, and in this case, that would be from wing edge to wing edge.
And if you print it in resin, would it be lighter then?
Yeah, I don't know.
No, I don't know also.
We need Steve. We need Steve in printing light, strong filament body shells, as you know.
I mean, it depends a lot on the model. You know,
Yes.
he's making great filament printed shells, but I think it's still. I don't think he's.
He's mainly Can-Ams and things, isn't he? Smaller things.
Yeah. I would expect that the weight will be different with various types of resin, but I don't know, what the what the actual,
body weight will be.
Volumetric weight is per, different resins.
Well, Jeremy's been resin printing body shells, and he's not here at the moment, but he might be able to give us an idea too, if he could.
It still needs glasses. It still needs a cockpit.
Yeah.
So what do you think? It's going to be a 30 gram.
It's going to be overweight to be competitive in the classes that we would like to use it, Henry.
Yeah. But
It needs to be,
if we all
it needs to
drive
be
the same-
completed with lights at about 18.
Yeah.
I know Brian does a lot of resin and filament prints, so maybe he would know.
Yes, he does.
If a resin printed shell would be lighter than the same shell filament printed, and if he has information on that, I'm sure he'll chime in. But thank you for showing off that print, Henry. I think that's actually the first print other than the one that he was showing in that thread where it was shared. I think Chappie Man printed it. I haven't seen any other prints other than yours now.
And I do know, but I'm not.
Oh no!
My bad.
Okay,
I said
go
I
ahead,
do
Brian.
know, but I'm not telling.
Oh, come on.
But I like the car. It's a beautiful model.
Does beta bodies
In a
do?
given thickness, I would have to say resin is probably going to be a little bit heavier.
Heavier.
Yeah, not by much. We're talking a gram or two probably, but my initial. Actually, I think the software will actually tell you the way. The problem is, I guess if you look at it without any supports in the resin program, it might tell you the weight, just like it does in the filament program. My guess would be that the resin would probably tend to be a little on the heavier side, but I might.
I mean, at the very least, a filament print is still going to have very small gaps of air, between various extrusions. So there's
And
that.
resin doesn't.
Resin would not have that. Yeah.
No, that's correct. Yeah.
I guess somebody will have to do a direct comparison at some point. My machine isn't big enough to print that body shell.
Do beta bodies make the Lexan version of that? Because you could use the glass, you could cut the actual cockpit off of a beta body and stick that into the glass of that and use it as glass.
He provided a glass forming buck. So you print out the buck and then you do a vacuum form.
Vacuum, yeah, we have a vacuum on the club, so I will do that next week. But yeah, It adds on. It's not gonna take something away.
Yeah, but at least you can do thin Lexan rather than.
Henri, what's the chassis like again?
Did you print the chassis? Yeah, hold on. Here we go. It looks like a Slot.it chassis.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I could take one in.
I'm gonna say, could you not?
It's pretty good.
Could you not drill out more on the chassis to lighten the chassis? I mean, say,
Oh yeah, of course. But first, I'm gonna look always at the body.
Yeah, he wasn't speaking of the body weight. He was speaking of the weight of, sorry, not the chassis weight, just the body.
Yeah, the chassis weight can be heavy. That doesn't matter because that's always helps.
It's low.
Yeah.
Weight, yeah, and it looks like he did some lightening efforts anyways. Like this opening doesn't need to be there, as far as those openings only would be there for removing weight purposes.
Correct.
So yeah, but otherwise it looks like a pretty nice. Oh, wired guides in there. That's
it's pretty.
Nice,
yeah, here in the middle for the wires guides.
Yeah, all the way from the motor up to the guide.
Yeah, no, it's a fantastic model.
Yeah,
I think they did a great job.
I mean, see, I got that chassis underneath the Toyota, which is the SRC upgrade,
and
that is just holes.
Yeah.
And that's plastic.
Yeah, yeah. And the front's you've got two screws there and there, and that front can be changed. If you damage the front, it just unscrews.
Oh, nice.
That's
so,
True LMP1 style, it's a clip.
That's the second one I've done now. The front, I've had two fronts on it.
So good thing it is removable and replaceable.
I'll tell you what, right? The body, you'd think the body is so flimsy on the top of this because it's held on by two screws again, there and there. And it's so flexible on the front, the chassis takes the brunt.
Yeah.
But do you know the weight of that body?
I can find out because I've got my
Henri, it's for our regulations, that one's too wide.
Is it?
For the ones that you're interested in. It's been considered.
Why is it too wide?
I think you're talking about the Glickenhaus, right, Wayne?
Yeah.
No, I was speaking of.
I haven't used this one yet.
Hey, if the dimensions are right, you can drive them.
That's
That's the rules.
15.73 grams.
Sorry?
15.73 grams that body weighs.
Yeah, I like that.
The glass and everything, yeah.
That's everything there. It's got all the interior in it.
Yeah, that's 10 grams lighter.
Yeah.
You can always injection mold a body shell a lot lighter than you can 3D print it in what experience. I've got little experience, but from what I've gathered, from what I've seen. They've
done two body shells, don't forget. They've done the chrono version is lighter than the normal body shell.
Yeah,
is that because they've changed the detail level somewhere?
No, they've done it purely for the racing side. The chrono bodies are a lot lighter than the standard cars. Same as on the Capris. You get a chrono Capri body and a normal standard Capri. They're two different weights because they're lighter. Yeah. Chrono is lighter. That's what that is. That's a chrono.
What brand of bodies are these?
That's an SRC.
Oh, okay.
So, but as you see, I haven't. I'm frightened to run that one because it's.
Yeah, he was talking about sharing that one. What is that body?
A Peugeot.
Yeah,
because that's what SRC are doing. They're doing the Peugeot and the Porsche.
Yeah. So you'll be able to print your own Peugeot soon. So that's two hypercars from Nimrod.
Wonderful.
All right, thanks for showing that, Alan. Okay, looks like Dewann is next for show and tell. Or do you have some club corner you want to do?
Well, it was really club corner.
Okay,
I know that I stepped out a bit.
Before we start club corner, does anybody else have any show and tell they want to get to before we switch topics? Go ahead, Wayne.
I put my phone in the chat because I got something happened for me this week. Let me share my screen into my gallery. So this week I was mailed a car. It contained this little box, and here's the reveal. I should probably turn this. Does this work? Yes, it looks like it does. Interestingly, it's one of those Mazdas that Dennis has just showed us, although this model is SICA 15A, which suggests to me that it was the first livery that was released.
Yeah, it was.
And there's
there was one ahead of it, but the one ahead of it had a CW number because it was one of the Le Mans Winners Series. So yeah, this is the first one of the non-winners series.
It's not a livery that I would have expected them to have chosen first, but the orange and green one was subsequently done. Anyhow, that's what I discovered inside. It's a heavily utilized car that's got plenty of miles on it. It doesn't even have adjustable axle heights.
Yeah.
But as you can see, it's been modified to have a nylon shim to do that job. It's had a digital chip in it before. And it's been loaned to me to take to a race meeting that I'm going to enter this coming weekend. And of course, this had to be done. And then I wanted to replace those nylon shims on the front axle. And so I had to get the chassis parallel to the axle. So I built up some layers of sticky tape there, set it on the block and reset the front axle shims. I also slightly adapted the guide to allow a lot of rotation, which I quite liked. And there it is sat in my block finished. Yeah, there you go. Look, I've glued in some new nylon shims, a little bit thicker. And that leads me into what would be my club corner, which is the fact that I'm going to race it at a digital track that I've never used before down in Stanborough this coming weekend. That's it from me, unless anyone has any questions, comments.
Guess not. So thanks for showing that, Wayne. Looking forward to hearing how well get it going on that track, and the track that you've never raced on before. Frank, did you have a show and tell, or do you want to do club corner?
Show and tell, actually.
Okay, go ahead.
My good friend Elgin Anthony Smith does custom liveries, custom bodies, and this is an NSR F1, of course. And I think he does an unbelievable job. It's almost too early to race, but I am going to race it.
That looks production. Yeah, it's beautiful.
He does a great job. Well, that's an NSR F1 he did for me, but he also did. I love race cars in yellow. So Pennzoil, of course, is one of the most recognized yellow ones, and he did this one for me as well. This is a Slot.it R88C. I just wanted to show off his work.
That's the body my granddaughter destroyed that body on my car.
It's a very, very light body. Anyway, that's just what I wanted to show.
Yeah, beautiful cars.
Thank you.
Yeah, the work looks so good. It looks production, doesn't it?
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
He does
Tell that guy he is WWSC approved.
All righty. I will tell him.
All right, thanks for showing.
Wayne, I just checked, and the new Mazda chassis has the adjustable front end. So
yes, so the chassis has changed, and of course
it
the
has
motor pod
changed.
has changed.
Yeah.
This one's got a 0 offset pod, and I'm allowed to use a 0.5, so I've ordered a 0.5, and I await that. Hopefully it will arrive tomorrow because I've got to complete the car. I've done everything else I think I can, but put the chip in it, which is only a 15-minute job. There are no lights in this body, so it's very simple compared to most of the Disco cars that I build.
So you won't have a last-minute loss due to light failure.
Absolutely. None of that this time. There'll be some other reason.
I just realized, of course, why the lead wires were so short in that car. I was going to make a snarky comment about that, and then realized that it still has to have a chip in it. Yeah.
Yeah, you saw it with the residual double-sided tape that had that chip mounted on it. So, I mean, all of that's out now. And
but you're putting an oXigen chip in it, or a...
Yes.
Okay, so
doesn't need long wires. It's gonna have short wires.
No, it just have to go as far as the chip.
All righty, thanks for showing Wayne. And you know, Wayne also posted another video recently, going back over one of the cars he recently raced. So that's another very informative car setup, you know, breakdown video to watch. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. And
thanks, Greg.
I think we're ready for Club Corner, and Dewann has his hand up already. So if you want to do Club Corner stuff, so past, present, or future, more than just yourself driving a car around a track activity, now is the time to talk about it. Dewann had his hand up first. Go ahead, Dewann. You're still muted. You're still muted, Dewann.
Sorry, I thought I was unmuted. There we go. Okay. Yeah, this past weekend I had a great time going down to Los Angeles and participating in the Farrout Club's event. Saw Frank there. It was great seeing him. And we did the Ninco Classics and the GT5 Classics, I guess it was. And that the same day I received a new gosh, I can't remember the name of the car. But I took it straight out of the box and put it on the track, and it was just really phenomenal, even without having the tires chewed. But there were Revoslots, right? Yeah. And
was it the Revoslot car or the Le Mans car you're talking about?
No, I was talking about the Group 8, Group 5 rather.
Group. Okay, the Group 5 is Racer Sideways.
Racer Sideways. Oh gosh, yes. Okay.
Yeah, Racer Sideways. I can't remember which one you ran though.
Yeah, but it was fast in the straightaway. There was not a single car that beat it in the straightaway. I actually, I'll pace everyone, but obviously the curves make the difference in the driver, and I did not finish last again.
What color is it, Dewann?
It was white. It was the
BMW.
Nissan. It was a Nissan. Yeah, the Nissan.
A Nissan
Skyline.
Yeah, Skyline.
Oh, Castle.
Yeah. Yes. I just cracked it open at the track, so and just put it on. I just loosened up the pod, and it really ran nice. I'm really gonna like that car. But out of 13 racers, was it 13 racers? Yeah, I finished 11th. And in that class and in the Ninco Classics, I brought out one of my old ones that I had and finally got it semi-tuned and still didn't finish last. I finished 12th.
Right.
There's a guy out here in Las Vegas. He moved from San Diego. He had a commercial raceway in San Diego. And he used to race a lot in Buena Park and several other places. I think his name is Michael Tucker. And he's got a 4-lane miniaturized King track that he's opened up at his house. And I'm going to be meeting with him on Friday. And we're supposed to be racing flexis. And I'm clueless. So I'm kind of looking for some pointers on what I'm getting into when I.
You're getting into speeds that are probably 3 to 5 times faster than anything you've driven before.
That's what I thought. Well, I used to, before I retired, was doing some of the wing cars, but it's yeah. So
you'll have fun.
Okay, that's what I was told.
Michael is a really, really nice guy. Very, very nice fellow. He's a good friend of mine.
Okay, excellent. I'll definitely let him know that you said that. Okay.
He's a super guy. Give him my regards when you see him, please.
Absolutely. So that'll be Friday, and then we're actually trying to get enough people together to get a little Las Vegas group going, club rather.
Should be able to do that.
Yeah. Excellent. Okay.
Great. Good deal. Thanks a lot. And if you get a Las Vegas thing going, definitely let us know so we can put the word out.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And Pete, you've got something you want to talk about? Go ahead.
There was a guy recent who used to have a race, a 2.4-hour Slot.it enduro years ago. I decided to kind of resurrect that within our little club here. So last Sunday, we finally got this going. I put a couple, it's usually the older race were Slot.it Group C. I kind of put a twist on it and said it's got to be Slot.it IMSA GTP. Full light kits, urethane tires, 2.4-hour total run time for each driver. Here's our starting grid. There were 6 of us. Local track owner Joe got TQ in the Castrol Jag. I came in second, a bit of home track advantage, I guess. In my that was a white kit that I used in decals to model up the BF Goodrich 962. And then we've got the Aiken Coke machine, the Hotchkiss Wins team car, and the factory Lowenbrow and the Toyota following up the rear. Now, there was only 6 of us, so we had 3 racers and 3 marshals, so I wasn't able to get a lot of pictures and video, but I was able to get some night pictures because at night the guys were driving a little more tentatively. So I just thought I'd do some kind of interesting stuff showing the light trails. Some of these turned out pretty good. I did do a video as well. It's on our Tri-County Slot Car Club website. This is coming under the bridge. And then there's the finish. Joe prevailed, and I came in second. And then we had another guy, local guy, Paul, in the wins, Porsche coming in third. So we had lots of fun. But if you look closely at the track here along the side, all the marbles, it was hilarious. The track was just coated, and we just left it that way because that's racing. So it was a lot like a real race where at the end of the day, the track was just filthy dirty with urethane marbles everywhere.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So over on the website, I've got a video of some night racing. And then I took a short video of the track showing all the marbles and stuff, just because I thought it was pretty funny. Anyway, we had a great day. It was a long day, kind of tiring. Learned some things to do and not to do for an enduro of 2.4 hours. So hopefully we'll get it. We're going to have a couple more races at the other tracks in our club, but not as long. We're going to do a 1.2 hour and then maybe a 0.6 hour. Anyway. That was it. We had fun.
How did you work out? So you had 6 racers on a 3-lane track. How was the 4 hours split up?
We ran 12-minute heats, 4 rounds. The first round was in, daylight. The second round was in twilight. We just dimmed the lights in the room. The third round was in nighttime. And it wasn't, if you watch the video, it's not as dark. It wasn't as dark as in the video. It was okay. Some of the guys had a little bit of problems. And then the 4th round, we went back to daylight. So that was fun.
Yeah, very cool.
I still have a bit of a blister on my trigger finger.
Yes. What kind of controller do you use?
Yeah, I was using a PM.
Professor motor, yeah. So with the single finger control, have you done any modifications to the trigger?
No. I saw the files and I haven't really had enough time to have a look at them and print something and try something out. But
I saw one on
I'll
Shapeways.
definitely try that.
I saw one on Shapeways for Professor Motor, but it had even harder edges than the stock trigger. So I'm working on a 3D model, kind of like I did for the Slot.it for Professor Motor, because one of the guys in my club doesn't have very good use of his index finger, so he usually drives like this with his middle finger, but he'd be more comfortable having a 2-finger.
Yeah, I drive with my middle finger.
Yeah. But one of the other guys was like, he just wants an index finger controller, but he has a callus on his finger from where the end of the trigger pushes into his finger, and he just wants a better single finger controller. So I figure while I'm at it, I might as well take a stab at making that a little easier, because one of the other guys in the club that I used to race with, he just filed that sucker down. He just kept whittling at it until it got comfortable, and it looks like a tooth. The way
rounded it out. Yep.
Yeah.
That's what I've done.
Yeah. So I'm surprised.
The biggest issue I have with the PM controllers is the grip. So what I've done is I've put like a racket wrap on my grip, and that helps a lot. You can see this one's in pretty crappy shape. I'm gonna have to replace it, but I've got like a bag full of these grips, and they work very well.
Yeah. The other thing was those corners that poke into the web between your thumb and forefinger when you're holding it. If you're
on the back here.
Yeah. Some people shave those down too.
Yeah, those don't seem to bother me too much.
Yeah, depends on how you hold it. Yeah, so I'm working on triggers for Professor Motor, so hopefully I'll be able to show those off soon, but not yet. Anything else, Pete?
No, that's about it.
Okay.
Thanks, guys.
Sure. Thanks for sharing. And Mike, you are next.
I'm open. Yeah, we had a great race on Monday, and I managed to redeem myself for losing a race by running out of fuel, and had it come to me that way. The race, it was the last race, which was actually split. The video is split into 2 parts because we had something went across the track and we had to stop to find that. So I had to split the video into 2 pieces. But the race was back and forth most of the time between me and Shiggy. And we were on the same lap on the last 2 laps. And I had an off that put me out of damage points. And I thought, oh, that's the race. You know, it's the last lap, all done, right? Came around, limped across the finish line, and I won. And I went, how the heck did that happen? And he ran out of fuel just before the finish line. So it didn't count his lap. But it was still close. I mean, it was really, really close. And it was a good race all the way around. There were a couple times we were running together and banging doors. It was real interesting. We did knock each other off once, I believe, but it was close, and we tried to keep it that way. We tried to do it as best we can, but it was pretty interesting. So that was good fun. And I got my brass chassis BMW got beat rather soundly by the 2 Revoslots this time. So I'm going to have to do some work on that. It's just too top heavy. I may have to make a BMW 2002 convertible to get rid of some of the upper weight in order to make it competitive. That's the only thing I can think of that'll really do it. I've been grinding on the top of it, but it's still not enough. But it's an uneven contest since the Revoslots are angle winders and the BMW is so narrow that it can only be an inline. But it does have a pod assembly, so I do have some there. I've mostly got too much grip, but I have to work on that. I may just get some smaller tires if I can, or run the urethane tires on it and see what happens with that, and maybe get a little more slide and get some better handling. But that'll be an interesting engineering exercise for that. But we had a great time, and I raced again last night in 124th LMPs, and I did not finish last. So almost, but it was more fun than it was the last time I went, so I wasn't quite as discouraged. But that's really competitive. These guys are running 3.5 second or less laps for 123 feet, and it's going pretty fast. And I haven't gotten back into it enough yet. So there's a Slot.it this weekend, which will run all 3 classes, which are stock cars, retro Can-Am, and LMPs. So we'll see how it goes. So that's all. That's me. If you want to look at the videos, it's on my channel, Northwest or Road America Northwest.
The 124s use the same size motors as the 132nds.
Well, yes, they're the same size, but they're completely different. They're pro slot motors, and we use the same motor for all 3 classes, but there's a weight differential. The LMP is unlimited weight. The retro Can-Ams are brass chassis inline, and they're 100 grams weight, and the stock cars are 125 grams weight. So that's how we differentiate. And the stock cars also run at 11.5 instead of 12.5 volts. So, you know, it's more of a beginner class, and it's a little bit slower. Not a lot, however. So, but it's serious racing, and, you know, cars end up on the floor and people get PO'd, and it's tough. It's not the same as what we're doing with the 132nd. There's much more camaraderie in the 132nd digital that I found, and more fun actually for me. And it's much more realistic because the slot car racing it's slot car racing. I mean, they go as fast as they can, and the guy with the most laps wins, which most analog racers are used to, but there isn't as much strategy involved in it. And I find that the digital is a little better for me. So, but that's just me.
Michael, I
That's
have a
it.
question.
Sure.
If you look at your DTM,
yes,
from Slot.it, would you dare to drive a digital?
Yes.
Don't you think it's too fragile for it?
No.
No shelf queens.
No, I don't think so. I mean, the DTMs that we're racing, I haven't had any breakage to speak of on any of the Slot.its. So I've got 3 Slot.its that I use: an Alpha, a Nissan GTR, Skyline GTR, and a Opel Calibra, and I've had no problems with breakage on those at the speeds that I'm going. Now I'm running them at what in RCS 64 is Pro Mag 40, or Pro Magless 40, which is about, I remember it was like 10.7 or 10.8 volts. I'll have to look it up in my book, but somewhere around that. So we're running a little bit lower voltage with it. But still, I don't think they're too fragile at all. Okay. And I've had a couple of offs with this one in testing.
Yeah.
It has been pretty tail happy, I found. So, but I still need more engineering to figure it out.
Yeah, we find that out because we found a little bit of a loss if we drive it 5-6 times and everything breaks, and then we don't have any fun anymore.
Yeah, yeah. No, I don't think it's going to be that fragile. It's light, relatively. It's not quite as wide as the Opel Calibra, but it's wider than the Alpha, I think.
Okay.
So, so we'll see how it goes.
Yep. Thank you for your
information.
information.
I did nothing but loosen the pod and, you know, put it on the track with G25 tires. I put G25 tires on. They weren't trued or anything. So that makes a little bit of a difference. I'll have to work with the weight on it and see. If you come back to me later, I'll tell you what the percentage of weight distribution is on it. And you can, at least you know then, what the stock weight distribution is.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
I would gamble that being in line, that's things quite close to 60-40 right out of the box.
We will see in a moment.
We raced the Slot.it DTMs in our analog club, and you know, we race magless, so I would not have any qualms about running them digital. But again, it depends on who you're running with. If you're running with a bunch of crash and dashers, then maybe not. If you're running with guys who know how to slow down and take turns right, then maybe so.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's 42 front, 58 rear.
That's pretty close
percentage wise.
And you haven't done any
74.8 grams.
You haven't already done any weight tuning?
No, I have not put any weight in it at all.
Pretty close.
And the most of the motors are 19,000.
19K motors.
Yeah, 19,000. The stock motor that comes with it.
Yeah, so they're not so quick.
They're not as quick as the Group C stuff, but I think they're a little more than 19. I thought they were 20 or 21.
It could be 20. Yeah.
I don't recall.
I don't remember what motor's in them. My memory is not as good as Dennis's in that regard. He knows all the numbers.
All right, I'm going to do my club corner real quick. It won't take long. We had some fun the other night, kind of like Pete. We had a night race, but this was for the IROC cars, and they are the Slot.it the Polycar BRZs. They're high crash resistant cars have lights. So the track owner putting those up for IROC decided to do an IROC race in the dark. And as you can probably see from the video, it's not nearly that dark. so kind of like Pete's situation, it looks dark in the video, but in real life you could see the whole track just fine. But that was a lot of fun. He had little stadium lights peppered around the track as well to add more to the ambiance and make it a little bit easier to see some of the turns. And then we ran, this is his track in the light, then we ran our sideways Group 5 race. The track was pretty cold, so grip was an issue just because the whole, see everybody's still wearing their jackets in their garage. Cold track, but for the most part, the Nivea hand lotion is still doing a good job for maintaining good traction from start to finish. Didn't do any worse than any of the other tire cleaning methods. We have yet to see if it will affect the adhesion of the foam to the wheel. Hopefully, I'll have an answer to that by the end of our racing series. But Group 5s are a lot of fun. Out of the box, they run great. Put some scale auto foamies on the back, and they run even better. I think I got third place, so that's always a good thing.
Podium's a podium, you say.
Podium is a podium, exactly. So that's me. Big Denny.
Which car do you run, Greg?
What was that?
Which of the Group 5s do you personally run?
A wild guess.
The blue and yellow Sunoco.
I think it's a Mustang, but the chassis says Capri, but they were having a debate about that. I'll have to actually go look at the box. I don't know. One of you guys probably knows.
Wouldn't be that one by any chance, would it?
That's the one, yeah. Is that technically being sold as a Mustang or a Capri?
That's a Mustang.
Okay,
that
that's
is
what I
Mustang. But there's a Capri from one of your local fellas over in America selling the actual Capri for $300 odd. For the Capri.
That's a little bit.
What I thought. No, I'll paint my own one.
The Mustangs and the Capri share a chassis.
That's why, because the chassis still says Capri. They didn't bother changing.
Yeah, it's the same molding.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, Greg.
Just the bodies that are different.
I put the body on the wheels now, so that's going to run Friday.
Very nice.
Yes, some of those Sunocos are limited edition. That's why they're like $400. I think they ran them for the North American group.
I've got
the production.
Yeah, I've got one of their what's the names here? He says the NSR 917. Oh, crash! There goes the 3D printer.
How long are we waiting, Paul?
Talk amongst yourselves.
Do the music.
Right. We'll go with Big Den's got some
real cars.
Big Den's got some club corner. We'll have him do that, and then you can show off whatever car you're going to show off when he's done. Go ahead, Big Den.
I had to mute myself then. Yeah, when Paul mentioned 3D printer, I started to cough.
Totally random.
Yeah. Yeah, my only racing in the last few weeks is, trip to Hobart last week. We raced a couple of classes. Down here, we're still waiting for our track owner to move the 2 tracks he now owns into the big shed. So that's gotten quiet. But I did get a text message just tonight from one of the other guys in the track, in the club, I should say. And he's bought a modular track from our local producer called Mr. Tracks, who also operates as, Mr. Slot Car as opposed to MR Slot Car. So I'm just going to find the. Oh, there's the. I'll just find a picture of the track. I'll just start again. Screen.
Is the track modular such that it can be configured?
Ah, yeah, that's it. That's the one. Yeah, that's the one.
Can the track be configured differently, or is it just happens to be a?
Yeah. So that one is actually, that's the overall picture. It's in his garage. There are 4 sections there. You can see the first join, middle of the picture, and there are obviously a couple more joins. It's not a long track because it's in a garage, but he figures the back straight is, I think, I'm not sure what he said, 7 feet or 7 meters.
Yeah, not 7 feet, that's for sure. That's longer than 7 feet.
No, yes, 7 meters. The guy, when he designs these tracks, you can't see it on this one, but to equalize lanes, he actually, sometimes you'll see the outer lane bulge out a bit. So that's quite clever. So there's only one more picture of it, and that's just some of Kerry's cars there. So unfortunately, I had to decline his invitation to go around and have a race on the track because I don't come out of isolation officially till tomorrow. So, but I'll soon get round there as soon as I can make it, and it's safe for all of us to do so. Just a couple of other points there. Dennis and Mike were both despairing at the yellow interior in the Mercedes. Scarl Extric had the right idea some years ago. They just had black windows and you couldn't see what colour the interior was.
Is it yellow or is it black? You won't know until you open it.
But mine is actually grey. I don't think they had an interior in it. It was one of those, just blackout, so they didn't have an interior. But I got Phil to mould me a clear window section, and I put a grey vac formed on it. I was going to put it on an HRS chassis, one of those things that got started and never ever finished. The other thing, I did watch Mike's latest video, and I noticed there was the ultimate ghost car. I couldn't even see it, so I'm not quite sure whether the ghost car was there or not. So, but I did watch the surprise ending. I wasn't tempted to fast forward and get the results straight away. I watched the whole lot, Mike. So, and the other one, I think Dewann was mentioning about having a go at flexis. We're thinking of our local club to introduce flexis occasionally as a bit of an inducement to new members, because there's quite a few fellas around our town here that have still got flexis from the old days, and we just think it might be a way to get some people in the door. So I'm not sure whether how close together they'll be on a 30-second scale track, but we could always do devise like a 3-bracket race, but you just don't race on, you sit out when you're on the middle lane. So the other 2 guys you race 2 lanes out of 3, and you've got plenty of space because they're only racing on the outside lane. So, and that will do me for today, I think. Oh yeah, the Glickenhaus. I mean, we had someone said it was a boat. I often recall, Harry Wise's comments about the 24th scale, 25th scale cars, and he calls them land barges. So the Glickenhaus boat could be a barge as well. So, okay, that'll do me. Thanks.
It'll be interesting to hear about the whole flexi thing, because I know some of them might fit on a 1/32 scale spacing. It depends on what cars happen. And the older ones, if they're coming from the earlier years of racing, their motors might not be too overpowered for your smaller.
Well, I've actually bought some chassis bits and pieces. A place I bought, a 124 sprint car body from a couple of months ago. They had some champion center sections at, prices I couldn't knock back, $10 a throw. And then just recently, when I was ordering some stuff from another supplier, I got a couple of JK chassis, for under $20. So just a chassis, and I got plenty of bits here to make them into cars. So I can put something on the track at even if we set them up like as an IROC, just build 3 cars, and you have the cars are the same colors as the lanes, make it easy for marshals, and you just drive each car, so it doesn't matter whether the cars are even or not. So you drive each car in your race. Okay, now I'm finished.
Hopefully you get some new members.
Yeah, that's what we're looking at.
Oh, all right. Paul's showing off his car. Hold on.
That is the other car that was specially done for a race in 2000 North America for NSR. That's 200 and one of them sold on eBay for 240, I think, dollars.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, those are rare cars. That's why they're so expensive.
So
they're nice.
That is 2009 North American Championship. Apparently, everyone who competed in that got one of the cars.
Wow.
So, but I didn't pay to it.
Did you pay a pretty penny for that, or did you get a good deal?
No, I didn't. I got that as a bargain. I was surprised when I see the one on eBay going for that, because one of my friends who also collects Sunicos said to me, he said, "Your car, did you pay that?" I said, "No, I didn't pay as close as that." But I got the feelers out over there to try and find me a Mustang, the Capri, because I really do want a Capri, but I'm not spending $400 for one.
Yeah.
She'd kill me.
Yeah. All right. Well, does anybody else have any Club Corner things they want to share before we open the floor? Hearing none, I guess we can talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. Anybody got a topic they want to bring up or circle back on? Let me look at my topic list here. No,
I was going to just say to Mike, talking about the Mercedes and the interior, did you realize that body has been made now like the Scalextric, that you can just unclip the whole interior?
Yeah.
It's not welded in at all?
No, it's just got little clips like the Scalextric one. It's really nice. Make it a whole lot easier to get all of that stuff done rather than having to cut it out.
Or to lighten it if you feel so inclined.
Or to lighten it, yeah. Not that it's that heavy to start with.
No, it's pretty nice, actually.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Glad you knew that. All right.
Good deal.
I've got a question for the group. For those who have driven the endurance races, the longer races, especially the overnight, like the 12 hours and 24 hours, how many tire changes do you do on a car in a typical race like that?
None. Yes, that one's for me to field. The control tires that we've used have changed a couple of times in the past 3-4 years because of availability and production runs. We used to use compound N22 and F22, and the N22 would typically run for about 4 hours. The end of life for a tire is not always when it bursts, but it can be when the performance is significantly dropped off. And we did tend to find that was the case before we actually could see a reason for the tire to have failed. Either that or the ground clearance goes away and you start to drag your motor on the track too much and the car starts to slide around. But 4 hours for a pair of N18s was typical. F22 would give a slight improvement in the handling characteristics of the car and would sometimes run for 6, but you only had 4 of those in your box, i.e. 2 pairs. And that would never get you through the whole race. We could get 6 hours on those. Now, in recent times, I think it was the N18 that went out of production.
Mm-hmm.
We swapped to G25 compound. And in the last 24-hour race we did with those, it was the first one. And we discovered that we could get around about 8 hours from one pair of tires. So the grip level was good, at least as good as, very, very similar, but as good as any of the others ever gave us. But the longevity was even better. And I think the next 24-hour race will have less handout in your allocation, because previously we would have quite a lot of N18s and only 4 F22s. I can't remember the exact number, but it was way more than you needed. And I think the future events will run a few less, but they'll all be G25. And so 8 hours is typical at the moment on the large Ninco Le Mans circuit that we use. Now, we've used other circuits in recent times. We use one at Rockingham, you're probably aware of, and we can get 6 hours from one pair on there. But I recently went to a circuit at North Staffs for a 12-hour endurance that was split into 2 6 hours over 2 days. And it was difficult to get 4 hours on there because that track is quite intense in terms of it being all corners.
Were you using D's there?
Sorry, were we using?
Were you using D's at that track?
G's.
G, like Greg.
The G25, the latest Slot.it variant. So yes, it is circuit shape dependent, but because there's the long straight at Le Mans, there are several long straights at Le Mans, they get some rest. The other track, the one at North Staffs was quite a intense figure 8 effectively. So both rear tires got quite a lot of work, and we were doing 4 5 hours.
It's important to note that all the tracks that you're talking about are Ninco tracks, which are
that's correct. Yes, all on Ninco
tracks.
It's very abrasive.
So as compared to running on Scalextric or Carrera or most routed tracks, it's a lot more wearing on the tires than any of those other tracks. Ninco is.
Yeah, you can drive on my track for 5 days.
Yeah.
You can drive on my track for
forever.
Yeah, and it still won't wear it.
Yeah. But also, I think Tamar made a good point about the Suzuka track being more wearing. It wasn't the layout so much as the rules allowed a lower clearance. And so as soon as the motor started dragging, it didn't take much of wear on the tires for the motor to start dragging because the clearance was so much lower than for the other Disca events. And so as soon as the motor started dragging, even just a little bit, the tires would lose traction and sand themselves faster, which then goes, it compounds on itself. The tires are wearing even faster because your motor drug just a little bit, and then it gets worse.
That's why I come home with part-worn tires in my pockets, and these have come out of a pair of trousers that I discovered had been through the wash. And these are on my windowsill in the bedroom because they just came out of a pair of trousers that I discovered them in. So yeah, I produce a significant number in a season of part-worn G25s, and there's lots of life in them, but I just don't have the events to use them. They're all perfectly square and worn nicely, but yeah, too low now to run at Disca events.
And when you guys run those, they're not glued on, right?
That's correct.
Yeah, so it's easy to change. Yeah,
yeah. There's a constant battle in your own mind as to whether to peel off the existing tires and refit with new ones and send the car on the basis that they will true themselves as they run, or use the grub screw aluminium wheels and take the wheels off and fit new wheels with tires on that possibly are even already trued. Now it's a race against the clock to do a wheel change, and if you can do it in under a minute, you're pretty good. The trouble with tearing the tire off and replacing it is the fact that the wheel arch, the body shell wheel arch, is a big pain in the backside to try and peel a new one on. And so most of us go for 3 hex wrenches, 1 to take the wheels off with, and 2 new wheels that have already got hex wrenches in them. And we just slide them on and tighten the grub screw, pull the hex wrench, and that's the way. sometimes it's one person, sometimes two persons, one person each side. And it's like Formula One. It takes training and practice if you're actually going to master that technique. But if you can do it, there's potential benefits. But I think the quickest tire change I've ever seen in DISCA or ever measured in DISCA races is about 40-45 seconds region. So you don't really want to be doing them because they always cost 2 or 3 laps. And there was one race we did. Alan was the guy Alan, who joins us in the chat, was the guy that managed to get one pair of F22 tires to run 6 hours at Rockingham. And at the end of that particular race, their car was still performing, but we picked the car up and looked at the wheels and tires just because he was so amazed that they'd gone as far as they had. You could actually see through them. You could see his insert. Yeah, they were that far gone, but fortunately for him, they did the job.
You're talking about how put tires on. I was at a race the other day, and one of the teams had, I don't know how many of you have been in agriculture before, but there's a kind of a reverse plier for placing rubber bands on cow's balls.
Right.
And they use that on tires. They put the tire over it, stretch it, bring it in, let it off, and off they go. And it was very fast and very effective. They've been practicing it quite a bit. I thought that was quite ingenious.
Well, thanks for sharing that, John. It's worth looking into. I'm aware that there is a product for this, and is it manufactured by NSR?
Now, then I don't know this. They said they got theirs right off of Amazon for, agricultural purposes. And one that you get for the farm has a little bit of a hook on the end of it that they shaved off, so it's just square, so that when you put it on one finger or hold it on, you just slip it right off, and then you true it to the edge. But it gets it on real fast and real clean, and you don't have to work your hand in and around the body of the car or anything.
Okay.
I guess the agricultural product was for bull's balls rather than cow's balls, right?
It might be for sheep tails.
I'm not an agricultural guy, so yeah, a cattle product.
That's why all the cows you see, they haven't got theirs anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, here comes Crawley. He doesn't know any better.
One of the guys in my club had an idea for assisting with tire application or tire installation, and it was basically a cone that fits over the outside of the hub, so that there's a smooth transition from the outside of the cone to the rib on the wheel, and then you just push the wheel over it. And I thought, well, if you do this with a filament printer, it's going to be all ridgy and it's not going to work very well. And it worked fantastically. And Dennis apparently has something similar to that. What do you got?
Yeah, these are made from aluminum.
Yep.
Or aluminium for you guys in the UK. And basically the same sort of thing. You would put your wheel on an axle inside there, slide the tire over the top, and then pull it out. And I have a couple of those that I've made over the years. They work very well.
Is that on your parts list?
The nice thing about the nice thing about the 3D printed one, first of all, I'm surprised that it worked so well. I didn't do any special settings. I just sent it on normal basic 3D printer filament printer settings, and it worked a lot better than I expected it to. The trick is just making sure that you have one that's designed to fit the wheel that you're doing it on. And in my case, the thing just you just stick it on the outside of the wheel and then push the tire on it. So as soon as you rip the old tire off, you could have one of these with a tire on, ready to push on, stick the cone on and then push the tire over. So then it's a lot easier to work it in evenly.
That's a great idea.
Not having to deal with the wheel well issue, but then you still gotta, finish the process, get it.
Yeah, you got to be careful too that you don't overstretch the tire. So the wall thickness, if the cone is fitting right over the tire like mine do, then that wall thickness must be very thin so that you don't overstretch the tire as you try to push it over.
I mean, the way that I designed it, I don't think you would stretch it any more than you would normally.
To get over the bead.
To get it
yeah, I hear what you're saying, that it fits on the outside, just on the outside bead, so it's as big as the center of the tire.
Yeah.
But the ones that I've got, the whole wheel would have gone inside.
Yeah, I guess, yeah. So in that case, you want to make sure that is very thin.
And in that case, with a 3D printed one, you might be in a little bit of strength problem. Maybe not.
Dennis, do you put anything? Dennis, do you put anything on the cone to help it slide?
Yeah, a little bit of depending on what kind of tire I'm trying to work. Either just if it's like a silicone tire that I'm putting on, I'll just wet it with a bit of water. If it's a rubber tire, I might use a little bit of lighter fluid or something like that. If it's a foam tire, then I'll use lacquer thinners because it's got glue on the inside of the donor. Talking about changing wheels and tires, the Eurosport guys who run those super fancy 1/24th scale steel spring steel cars, when they change tires, what they do is they will have they're all angle winders, right? And very shallow angle. So they'll have an axle and a gear and one tire already assembled. And they'll have the second tire waiting, and the tire, the wheel itself has whatever little bit of spacing they need on the non-gear side. It's part of the wheel. So when you do the change, you use one driver to unlock one set screw. You pull the whole wheel and tire and axle and gear assembly out. You slide the other one in, you put one tire on, and you lock it up, and you're done. So you actually change the axle, the gear, and both wheels at once.
Well, the risk for me with doing that would be pushing the ball race out the opposite side of the motor car.
But the ball races on the Eurosport, the ball races are soldered in.
Yeah. I see the benefit.
Yeah, it's a way, way quicker thing to do that, because very often they have to do that in the middle of a race, because to start with a set of tires that are big enough to run 8 heats of 5 minutes, you just can't do it. And during their lane change times, they're not allowed to work on the car other than flattening the braids and pushing in the body pins. All the other work has to be done under green.
Yeah.
I guess there's an answer.
Yeah, Greg.
Hey, Paul.
What's this?
Coal.
Like a bit of foam.
No, I've just.
Oh! It's technically an acupuncture needle, but it's used to clear out the nozzle of the 3D printer. So if you get a minor nozzle jam, or a jam plastic in there, you can basically push that up through the tiny little hole in the nozzle to dislodge whatever is jammed in the printer hot end, and then hopefully you can either get it out or it'll extrude again. But it's basically just and those are for cutting the ends of the filament, because sometimes when you unload filament, it gets a bulge on it and doesn't want to unload or load properly. Pete's got his handy. Those are spare. No, hold it up higher, Paul.
Oh my God, he's opened the box.
Those are
spare part.
Those are PTFE couplings, a nozzle, and 2 collet clips that help hold the PTFE in the couplers.
There's one other thing in there too. That
USB, yeah, that's for your files.
Is that instructions? How to work?
No. Instructions might be on that card actually, but that looks like a micro SD card in a USB.
Yeah, it's a micro SD card. When it's plugged into that, when it's plugged into that white, when it's plugged into that, if you pull the cover off, there's a USB connector in there. That's what you plug into your computer to transfer your file from your computer, whatever the file format is, from there onto that little card. Then you pull that little card out, and that's what goes into your Creality printer.
That's that little thing sticking out.
Yeah, you press it in and it springs out, and then you take that and you push that into the slot in the 3D printer.
If it doesn't press in, then just pull it out.
Oh, it may just pull out, yeah.
It don't push in. And what's that?
That's
filament by the looks of it.
It's
some sample filament. When you find the instructions, when you find the instruction manual,
it'll tell you all about this.
I haven't got an instruction manual.
It's on that stick.
All I had.
When you find the instruction manual, seriously, throw it out.
And go online and watch some videos.
Go on YouTube and search for Chuck Hellebuck, Filament Fridays. Chep, CHEP he has a channel, or just do a search for Ender 3 assembly, because the instructions they give you are terrible. Watch a couple videos and then have all your Ender stuff ready in front of you and the video. Watch the video, stop it, and then do what you need to do, and then proceed. It's much better than the instructions.
Because I built it with that. That's what it come with. That is the instructions.
Yeah.
That's all you get.
If you have a paper shredder, feed that through your paper shredder.
Or even the naked flame.
It's been built now.
That was subbed out by IKEA.
How many years now has it been built, Greg? 2?
Feels like 2 years, but probably not quite that much.
Does it matter about being covered in dust?
You'll want to clean it off before you do much printing, yeah.
Right.
Especially
I might have a go this weekend if I can figure out how to. Well, that looks nasty. That.
So, what kind of printer is it? Did you get an Ender 3, like Pete was saying?
Ender 3 Pro.
Yeah, Ender 3. It's an Ender 3.
If you buy the new Ender, it's almost done. You only have to put. The 2 barrels and you're ready.
Yeah, they don't even put the extruder.
That's it, Paul. It's out of date. You've got to sell the thing, replace it with a new one.
There you go. Exactly.
Hardly used.
That's fine.
Then it'll be a rear ender.
All right. Well, this isn't a 3D printer help group, but we look forward to seeing your slot car related 3D prints in the future.
Sell it.
Dewann,
One used enter
that he wants to bring up. What do you got, Dewann?
Oh, I had a question. I was looking at some of the old videos, and one of them was talking about the AC
2-car.
Yeah, analog method for sharing the lane and all that. And they talk about the diodes. Now, the diodes, do they go into the controller or do they go into the cars? Or actually, more specifically, do the cars get modified at all? Can the cars go from that AC track to the regular analog tracks? Or okay, so,
no. The first answer to your first question is yes. It goes in
Yes.
both the controller and the car because they get paired together.
Okay.
Actually, they don't need to go into the controllers, but they need to go into the wiring to which the controller attaches.
Oh, okay.
So that you can use regular controller without. If you wire the diodes into the wires that come from the power supply towards the controller, or from the controller towards the track, then you don't have to have the diodes in the controller. But the cars have to have diodes as well. And when the car has a diode in it, you can drive it on an analog track, but it's not going to have any brakes.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it doesn't have brakes on AC2 car anyways, right?
It doesn't have brakes on an AC2 car either, but don't think that you can just put it straight on the first thing is, as soon as you drive, if you drive it on a analog track, if you have 2 cars that you've set up for AC2, one will drive on an analog track and one will not, because the one has the diode in the correct direction for analog, and the other one is in the reverse direction for analog.
Yeah.
And so that's the first thing. The second thing is the motor is going to see a voltage drop straight away because of the diode in the circuit. And the third thing is it won't have any brakes.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you can turn your power supply back up a volt.
Yeah, you could. Yeah.
The thing that the biggest loss of all is the brakes, isn't it?
Yeah, and that depends very much on the kind of track. You know, that little parking lot track that I have doesn't make any difference because you're never getting up to any great speed. And so you can run on that without any brakes, without any problem.
And that's one of the things that a lot of AC2 car guys like, is that the cars aren't so twitchy because it's getting just the half wave of AC. And the lack of brakes forces you to drive more conservatively. You're not going full blast into the corner. You're going full blast out of the corner and then letting go and
you're having to coast the
taking
car
everything more smoothly.
Yeah, and the cars have a different sound when they're running on the AC. They have a completely different sound. They have a funny little growl to them. The motors don't rev as much. They have this little low frequency growl. It's quite interesting.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
I've never driven on one, but I've seen lots of videos, and that one guy's tractor on the news or in the papers for being so huge and landscaped and everything. It's a beautiful track. That's AC2 car.
I had a friend here on Friday, and we were playing on that little parking lot circuit that I did. And I have two Ninco Renault Meganes, that the N1s or Ninco ones they call them.
Yeah.
You know, that have the real slow motors, and I've got diodes in those, and we had a lot of fun. Two of us, you know, just puttering around and trying to miss each other at the crossover and things like that. It was fun.
What you got, Henry?
Last time you told me that for oXigen, if you change the wiring on the front side, you can drive on a Carrera track, isn't it?
It depends on how you set up the chip, but yeah, standard Carrera polarity is opposite normal polarity. So if you have,
but you have to change the screw on the backside, or not?
No. The only reason to change the screw is if you never want to worry about polarity on whatever track you put the car down on, and or you plan to run it on an SSD track, which is AC. But you don't need to move the screw if you're just going to use it on anything other than SSD, because every other track system is DC. But then you only need to worry about the polarity of the wires, Carrera being opposite. I think not that it matters because the lane changers don't work anyways, but if you happen to put a car on a SCX digital track, I think it's regular polarity, but it's DC. I think Ninco is DC as well with regular polarity.
You're saying the lane change is not going to work that?
Yeah, I mean on SCX digital, because they have a different lane change system.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, the lane changes work just fine for you.
Firmware is then G132?
It depends on how you want to race the car. Are you talking about you wanting to use the car? You want to drive it as oXigen?
Yeah.
Then you just put on oXigen firmware.
Yeah, but if I drive on a Carrera track, I have to do it in the mode D1, not the 30T, because it wants to see lane changes.
You change the lane change mode, but that's not different firmware. That's just a setting.
It's only a setting.
Yeah, it's a setting in the app.
Okay, because I have a YouTube, of course, and I've got all. I'm busy questioning all the people now at the moment on how I'm going to do it, and I didn't do that sort of thing, so I didn't know how to do that because I drive a real oXigen.
The biggest point of confusion that people tend to have is the fact that there's two different things. There's the firmware that lets you drive the car just like it's a Carrera car, not an oXigen car, like a Carrera.
Correct. Yeah.
That's firmware. Then there's just settings in the chip settings options when you use the app to make an oXigen firmware car change lanes on a Carrera track.
Mm-hmm.
That's you use the app, you go into the info.
Yeah, that's I normally do. Yeah.
Yeah, like you normally do. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Why should you buy a C chip and drive Carrera?
Because you want to, like Chris on Slot Forum was trying to encourage his Carrera users to consider moving towards oXigen. So he basically wanted to be able to, drive some cars as Carrera cars, and then the same cars later on drive them as oXigen cars, so his club members could see that there was a difference or benefit.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Or in my case, the reason I like it is because my digital club has both Scalextric Digital and Carrera Digital tracks, but we're not running oXigen all yet. We're all running Scalextric Digital or Carrera Digital. So by having a C chip, we could run the same car on everybody else's track without having to change the chip, only having to change the firmware.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, thank you.
I want to give a shout out to Greg. Just because he is absolutely the best source of information about digital slot car racing that I've come across anywhere. Thank you so much for all the help that you give us. Me particularly, because I know nothing about this all. But yeah, guys, this guy is an absolute fountain of knowledge when it comes to this stuff. Thank you so much. I do appreciate it all.
Anytime.
We all do.
Yep. I wish I had as much experience on specific things. Like, you know, I've never driven a 24-hour oXigen race. I've never actually had any actual oXigen racing yet, which is disappointing, but, you know, hopefully in the future. So I know how things should work and how they do or do not work. I do not know what makes them work. So don't come at me with what kind of resistor do I use here, or why is my chip dead, because I don't know.
And what's the reason that's not going to happen at the moment, Greg? Because don't you find enough enthusiasts for it in your neighborhood?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a pity.
I mean, I would, you know, most of the guys in my digital club they like the set that they have, right? They don't have a desire to, you know, use a new system. So I'm hoping that, because now I have enough cars and controllers, I can do an oXigen race. Now I need people. And for people, I need to clean out my garage, which is basically still pandemic garage, full of crap. So there's no room for any more than one person to move around in my garage. So I need to take care of that, and then I can have races again, and then I can host a small oXigen race on my track, and then I can start saying, hey, you know, if you get an oXigen controller and a chip, then, you know, yeah.
Yeah, that's true what you're saying, because everything I've got, I've bought it by myself, and nobody had something. So yeah, it's first out your pockets.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
What would you say is the most compelling argument to switch to an oXigen chip in and sort of dispense with your Carrera systems or your SSDs?
For my part, my compelling argument is that the driving of an oXigen car is much more akin to driving an analog car, and having the ability to manipulate the control settings is much more akin to driving analog with a controller with the knobs and stuff. You know, some digital systems allow you to change the settings, but you can't change them on the fly with a knob on your controller. Like Carrera Digital, you can change the maximum power and the braking strength and stuff like that, but you got to do it, you know, before the race.
Yeah.
So, you know, if you want to just drive around a car and you know, tweak it as you go, like you can with analog, then you're needing a system like oXigen to be able to do that.
If you're a driver for at home and you never do races on a club analog, buy a Carrera Digital set.
Yeah.
And you're done. You have the feeling, you have the fun of digital driving, but you don't have to compare it with analog. But when you drive races, as we do in analog and on clubs, and then you go Carrera Digital driving, it's a hell.
Aren't you limited to 6 people anyway if you're running Carrera Digital or Scalex Digital, whereas oXigen gives you a lot more people?
That's the other advantage. Yeah. So if we, for example, even if we only wanted to race 6 cars at a time, if we were running oXigen and I had 10 guys, we would never have to re-ID cars like we do when we're limited to 6 cars. We could have all 10 guys with their IDs that they always use, and then, you know, it's just who's on the track is who's racing. We don't have to reprogram anything. But of course, then we could have all 10 guys on the track. If they're all good enough to be on the track at the same time without making it a crash fest, then they can all be on the track at the same time.
Fortunately, that rarely occurs that you get more than 6 to attend and compete together. And it's not really a compelling argument, although it's a benefit. It's not the single most. Exactly,
which is why it's not my top compelling argument.
Yes.
I mean, like I said earlier, I hope, at some point, there's a local to me, oXigen race of some sort that I can go participate in, and that will maybe encourage some of the local racers to, look into and consider including oXigen in their repertoire of racing, just like you guys in the UK have been doing. But that's not in my forte.
Not just the UK. Holland is really close. It's really, really close.
I meant Europe.
They're the two main centres of the. Yeah, it's European.
Northwestern Europe.
I mean, Henry's right in one of the hotbeds, and I'm in the other one.
Yeah.
For oXigen digital races.
He's literally in the hotbed.
Yeah.
So, like my club, we normally have about 12, 13 attend a night. So that's on a wooden track, old school, so that's analog. Would you be able to run 13 or not? What's the maximum you can run on a digital track?
20.
Yeah, oXigen is limited to 20, and I believe Scorpius is 24. I've never seen a Scorpius race of 24 people, but it's technically possible.
No, you first have to find 24 people who want to have it.
Who want to have a Scorpius race, yeah.
Yeah.
The thing is, Paul, that digital slot car races don't tend to be club night activity. I'm not aware of a digital. In fact, I'm not aware of a club that races digital on a regular basis. I think Greg is the only example I could cite.
There's digital clubs out there. Yeah.
Exmoor Club races every week on different tracks. They go around to their own home tracks.
Wow.
And that's a digital club.
Oh, good.
They got one of the members is in Minehead, the other one's in Willerton, and they're spread out over Exmoor. So they've invited me a few times, but I just,
you haven't mastered the 3D printer yet, so the oXigen is a little.
Yeah. I can drive a true speed controller though.
Yeah, good. I can't.
They're out there, but they're not as common as analog clubs. That's for sure.
There is a Dutch Carrera club, but they only have a 6-lane track with two of them are digital. Only they have 2 members who drive digital. It's almost dead.
Yeah.
I think it's in Germany. It's big or bigger.
I mean, the home.
You've only got to look at the endurance racing that they do in Italy and Spain, and we have become aware of those because of the photographs we see of the butterfly circuits where they're running 8, 16. They're running 32 cars simultaneously, all analog, on 4 tracks, 4 8-lane tracks.
Yeah,
and we look at that. You and I look at that with a different pair of eyes, and we think all of that's not necessary if they would just go digital.
No.
They certainly have enough track to do a nice big digital.
Oh gosh!
But at the end, there are all the racers are old people, and they don't like changes.
That's true.
And it's too difficult for them. For the most.
There's also a cost implication because a digital chip, particularly an oXigen one, is not an inexpensive thing to invest in.
No, even not if you blow them.
Well, fortunately, touch wood, I've only experienced one, and that was back in 2017. And since then, I've never had one pop.
But that's offset by the fact that most competitive analog racers have controllers that are pushing $300, $400, $500, $600, and a Slot.it SCP3 is only $150. So you trade your expensive controller for a Slot.it and a chip or two, and you're good. Anyways, we're at our 2-hour mark. I'm going to stop the recording, but we'll keep chatting. As always, please come and join us on a chat live. It's a lot of fun. And then until next week, we'll wave goodbye. Everybody say bye. Bye.
Good one tonight. Great.